We give them names like guardian to make the feeling of being watched more bearable. We convince ourselves that the weight in the corner of the room is a shield rather than a tether. It's a necessary lie. But the truth is indifferent to your comfort. Guardian angels do not protect you. They're not soldiers. They're witnesses. And their only duty is to ensure that when the time comes, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Consider Ray. He spent his life looking for a sign that he was being looked after. He eventually found one. He just didn't realize that being watched isn't the same as being saved. Ray was 7 years old when he first met his protector. He had been standing on the edge of a rusted pier, watching the gray water of the lake churn beneath the wood. He was a curious child, the kind who leaned just a little too far over the edge of things. When the wood gave way, Ray didn't fall. He felt a sharp, violent tug at the back of his collar. It wasn't the gentle hand of a parent. It was a cold, iron-like grip that held him backward so hard his teeth rattled. He landed on the solid deck, gasping, looking around for his savior. The pier was empty. Ray went home that day with a bruise on his neck in the shape of a hand and a heart full of wonder. He told his mother a shining man had saved him. It was a comforting story. It made him feel chosen. Ray lived because something decided he should. At 7 years old, he didn't care about the physics of the grip on his collar. He only knew that the water was deep and he was still dry. He went home and told his mother he had Angel. And why wouldn't he? To a child, a hand that pulls you from the dark is always a hand of love. Decades passed. Ray's life was quiet, filled with the small, lonely tasks of a man who never quite found his place in the world. He worked, he ate, and he sat in his armchair as the midnight blue light of the evening filled his living room. In 1994, the pneumonia should have ended it. Ray was ready. He felt a strange peace in the hospital bed, watching the snow fall outside the window. He saw the shadow in the corner and smiled. He thought that was a welcoming committee. But then, the miracle struck. It felt like a violent restart. His heart didn't just beat, it slammed against his ribs. The doctors were baffled. Ray wept with gratitude. He spent the next 20 years trying to live a life worthy of the extra time he had been given. He thought he was being preserved for a grand purpose. He was a man living on borrowed time. and he loved his lender. The end came on a Tuesday, a patch of black ice on a sidewalk that had seen 1,000 winters. As Ray fell, he didn't feel the phantom hand catch his collar. There was no tug. There was only the hard, final crack of his skull against the concrete. He lay there, paralyzed, watching his breath bloom in the cold air like ghosts. And there, standing at the edge of his vision, was the Guardian. The veil was thinning. Ray could see what was behind the figure now. It wasn't a void. It was a glimpse of something so radiant, so vastly beautiful, that the pain of his broken body vanished. It was the kingdom, the place he had spent 60 years trying to earn. Ray's soul began to drift toward the light. It was the most natural movement he had ever felt. But the Guardian stepped in. It didn't look like a man anymore. It was a towering, gray sentinel, its back turned to Ray. It didn't look at the dying man. It looked at the light. It spread its arms, forming a wall of cold, dead energy. It wasn't there to usher Ray in. It was there to make sure he died facing the street. Perhaps heaven is overcrowded. Perhaps we are a contamination they cannot allow inside. Or perhaps, the most terrifying thought of all, we were never intended to go there at all. Ray watched the light dim as the Guardian stood its ground. Every miracle in Ray's life had been a denial. Every time he was saved, he was actually being barred from entry. He'd been kept alive, not because his life was precious, but because the gates were close to him. He wasn't being protected from the world. The world was being protected from him. We mistake a locked door for a shield. We thank the bouncer for not letting us into the club, thinking he's protecting us from the noise, never realizing we simply weren't on the list. Guardian angels do not protect you. They protect the gates. My name is Titus, and this is what we tell ourselves.